I'm going to show you guys an exercise that helps with fluidity in your lines when playing over chord changes. The chord progression that I'm going to use today is the first 8 bars of All the Things You Are, which is a jazz standard. The chords are F minor, B flat minor, E flat 7, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G7, and C major 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to isolate an area of the guitar and pick a low and high note. So as an example, I'm going to go up here on the 8th fret where I have my F minor 7. And as my lowest note, I'm going to pick this C, which is the 8th fret on the low E string. As my highest note, I'm going to pick the 11th fret on the high E string. Both these notes fit over an F minor 7, which is my first chord in this exercise. What we're going to be doing is playing through the arpeggios of these chords, but keeping it within that low and high note that you chose. So a lot of people, when they practice arpeggios, tend to fall in this routine of always starting from the root. If I was playing through these chord changes, that would sound like this. So this exercise is going to branch you out from that. So step 1 is playing through the arpeggios, switching direction for each chord. So I'm going to go up for F minor 7, and then down for B flat minor 7. And what I'm also doing is when I'm changing chords, I'm playing the closest note in the arpeggio of the next chord. And oftentimes you'll have 2 options, so it's sort of up to you which one you choose. So in this case, I chose this as my highest note, so I know I can't go any higher than this. So I'm going to come down to this note here, this D flat on the high E string, which is my minor 3rd of my B flat minor. So now I'm over B flat minor, now E flat 7, now A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G7, C major 7. So if I play those up to speed, it sounds like this. But that's sort of limiting as well and sounds a little bit predictable because we're just going up an arpeggio and down the next arpeggio and up the next arpeggio and down the next one. So our ear starts to predict what that's going to sound like and it gets a little boring. So this is the main part of the exercise right here. Instead of changing direction for each chord, we're not going to change direction until we reach our highest or lowest note. So in this case, the C on the 8th fret of the low E string and the E flat on the 11th fret of the high E string. And because these notes are not included in every arpeggio, let's say we're playing over the G7 arpeggio. Technically our highest note is this, right? But there's no E flat in a G7. Our next note in G7 would actually be up here. But because this is above our highest note, we're going to turn around when we get to this note. So that's when we would switch direction because we can't go any higher than this note. So when the direction you're playing in and the arpeggio you're playing are out of sync, right, you could be playing in one direction but having to switch arpeggios, or you could have to switch direction but stay on the same arpeggio. This forces you to connect your arpeggios in places that may be uncomfortable or new to you. So let me show you what this exercise looks like over those same chords. So that's just one rotation through the chords. What you want to try to do is see how long you can go, repeating that chord progression. So I'll try to do a couple rotations for you. So this can be pretty frustrating. So if you're having a lot of trouble with this, what I would do is just take some time to visualize each arpeggio on its own within that range that you selected. So I'll show you each of those on its own. So in this area, with this being my low note and this being my high note, my F minor 7 looks like this. B flat minor 7 looks like this. flat 7, A flat major 7, here's D flat major 7, and here's G7, and then here's C major 7. And notice how I'm not going up to that E for the C major 7 because I chose this as my highest note. So I would practice those each individually first, get a good visual of them, and then maybe when you put them together, it'll be a little bit easier. Another thing to challenge yourself is start on different notes, so don't always start on this F right here. Maybe start on a C down here, start on an E flat. You can start anywhere on the guitar. Now you can even start like in the middle and switch direction on the first arpeggio. So if I started on this F, and I did the same exercise, you're already thrown sort of into the middle of it. And again, you can also experiment with this. Like if you wanted to include shifting, you can choose this low F as your lowest note, and maybe even choose this high C as your highest note. And then when you're moving around, you have more of a range to look at. It might be harder. Let's go through one more position together just so you have a really strong idea of how to do this. I'm going to choose this area of the guitar. So if I'm thinking like F minor here, I'll choose the 3rd fret on the low E string as my lowest note and the 6th fret on the high E string as my highest note. So first what I might do is look at each arpeggio individually. So the F minor would be, B flat minor would be, E flat 7 would be, A flat major 7, D flat major 7, G7, and then C major 7. So let's try just one rotation through those chords. And then obviously you'd keep going. So that's the exercise. I would practice it with a metronome too if you can. Test yourself, see how many rotations through the chords you can do. Make note of the spots that are tripping you up, and maybe focus your practicing around those areas of the guitar. Alright, thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Till next time.